Why did snakes lose their legs? A snake looks like an animal that was simply born to crawl. No legs, no arms, no feet, just one long moving body. But here is the strange part. Snakes did not start that way. Deep in their evolutionary past, snakes came from ancestors that had legs, real legs, bones, hips, tiny walking machines built into a lizard-like body. So the real question is not, why don't snakes have legs? The real question is, why would evolution take away something as useful as legs? Because legs seem like an obvious advantage. They help animals run, climb, dig, fight, escape, and chase prey. If you imagine survival as a race, losing legs sounds like showing up with your shoes missing. But evolution does not care about what looks useful in general. It cares about what works in a specific world. And for early snakes, that world may have rewarded a body that became longer, smoother, and stranger. To understand this, we have to go back more than 100 million years, to a time when the ancestors of snakes were not yet the sleek predators we know today. They were part of the same great reptile family tree as lizards. Some of them probably lived close to the ground, hunting small animals, slipping through tight spaces, and using narrow shelters to survive. Now imagine a small reptile trying to move through soil, leaf litter, cracks, roots, rocks, or underground tunnels. In that world, legs are not always a gift. Sometimes they are a problem. A long body can slide into spaces where legs get stuck. A smooth body can push through loose ground more easily. A narrow head can enter holes, and the rest of the body can follow like a living rope. This is where the story becomes interesting. Evolution did not suddenly delete snake legs in one dramatic moment. It was not a switch from lizard to snake overnight. It was probably a long series of small changes. The body became longer. The spine gained more repeated segments. The limbs became smaller. The ribs extended farther down the body. The animal's movement changed from stepping to pushing, bending, and flowing. At first, legs may still have existed, but they may have become less important, then smaller, then weaker, then useless. And once a body is already good at moving without legs, keeping legs can become expensive. Every body part costs energy. Legs need bones, muscles, nerves, blood vessels, joints, and coordination. If those legs no longer improve survival or reproduction, evolution does not preserve them out of nostalgia. It lets them fade. But this is not just a story told from imagination. Snakes still carry clues. Some living snakes, like boas and pythons, have tiny structures near the base of the tail called spurs. They are not walking legs. They cannot carry the snake across the ground. But they are reminders of an older body plan, little echoes of a time when their ancestors had hind limbs. Even more powerful evidence comes from fossils. Scientists have found ancient snakes with hind legs and pelvis bones. One famous example is Najash, a Cretaceous snake from Patagonia. It had a snake-like body, but it also kept hind limbs and a pelvis. That means the snake body was not born fully legless. There were transitional forms, animals caught between the walking world and the crawling world. But fossils only tell us what changed. Genes help explain how. Inside developing embryos, limbs are built by a genetic system. One important part of that system involves a gene called sonic hedgehog. The name sounds like a video game character, but in biology, it helps tell a growing limb bud how to form properly. In many animals, this system helps turn a tiny bump in the embryo into a full limb. In snakes, something changed. The limb-building instructions were not completely destroyed. They were weakened. Some snakes still begin to form tiny limb buds as embryos, but the process stops early. The signal does not stay strong enough for long enough. The limb starts as an idea, then disappears before it becomes a finished structure. That is one of the strangest parts of evolution. It often does not erase the past completely. It edits it. The snake body is not a blank design. It is a modified version of an older design. Evolution works like a messy inventor, not a perfect engineer. It takes what already exists, stretches it, reduces it, repurposes it, and sometimes leaves behind tiny traces of abandoned features. So why did snakes lose their legs? Probably because their ancestors entered a way of life where legs became less useful than a long, flexible body. Burrowing, squeezing, hiding, striking from tight spaces, moving through complex ground. All of these could favor a body that was smooth and continuous. But there may not be one single answer for every snake. Some early snakes may have been burrowers. Others may have lived near water. Others may have hunted through dense vegetation or tight environments. Evolution rarely follows one clean road. It experiments. And that makes snakes even more fascinating. Their missing legs are not a failure. They are a success story. A snake is not an animal that lost something and became less complete. It is an animal whose entire body became the tool. The ribs help it grip the ground. The muscles create waves of motion. The skull became flexible enough to swallow large prey. The tongue became a chemical sensor. The body became stealth, strength, and movement all at once. Legs were useful for the ancestors. But for snakes, losing them opened a different path. This is the deeper lesson hidden inside a snake's body. Evolution is not about becoming better in a simple way. It is about becoming better fitted to a particular challenge. Sometimes, survival means gaining a new weapon. Sometimes, it means growing bigger. Sometimes, it means becoming faster. And sometimes, it means letting go of something that once seemed impossible to live without. A snake moving silently through grass is not a primitive creature missing its parts. It is a record of millions of years of decisions made by nature, written not in words, but in bones, genes, and motion. And every time it moves without legs, it tells the same quiet story. Evolution does not always add. Sometimes it subtracts and creates something extraordinary.